and should slowly decline during the day, making us feel like shit in the morning. To secrete cortisol. They are free from mind-control parasites. Suspiciously looking at my poop. A substantial amount of tuna? Zero. It is the third part of this elaborate tutorial, where we're scrutinizing blood markers and how to use them to optimize your health and performance. So I recommend watching part 1 and 2 first. They drew blood. Excessive porn and frequent masturbation. It's like testosterone on steroids. A second blood. My free tea using that equation. That'd be a red flag. Individual test I could find. Without further ado, let's have a look at our potential culprit of not so great numbers of my IGF-1 and DHEA, the stress hormone, cortisol. But I don't like the word stress. For me, it's the mobilization or alertness hormone that does a lot of really cool stuff for our body, such as sleep-wake cycle. It interacts with melatonin, helping us to wake up and feel full of energy. Acts synergetically with thyroid hormones to increase overall metabolism, also increases blood glucose to make it accessible for tissues, specifically muscles and the brain. Anti-inflammatory. It suppresses immune response. Blood pressure maintenance. It regulates vascular tone, increasing blood pressure. It helps the body to respond to acute stress. And it enhances alertness, focus and reaction speed. So how is it possible that such a friendly, cute little body earned such a horrific name, stress hormone? Well, let's figure it out. Cortisol, as many other hormones, follows a circadian rhythm, controlled by the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. Remember, DHEA from part 2 has the same axis. It spikes 30 to 60 minutes after waking up, which is the highest level of the day, and should slowly decline during the day. So it works beautifully and healthy for our body when it follows its natural rhythm. Or during an acute stress, it helps us to mobilize all our energy to prioritize immediate action above sleep, regeneration, reproduction and even digestion. Come on! Come on! But in case of chronic stress, that prioritization can make us psychotic, sleepless, burnt out, depressed zombies. That's how I'd been living for decades. And it also increases craving for sugar and fat, because you know, to survive when your boss is screaming at you, you need a lot of quickly accessible energy in your muscles for fight or flight response. We should clearly understand that there are huge differences between an acute cortisol response and chronic elevation. I mentioned that cortisol acts synergetically with thyroids. Indeed, it stimulates the T4 to T3 conversion in the liver. However, the same cortisol suppresses T4 to T3 conversion when chronically elevated. Cortisol helps us to wake up. Correct! But when elevated in the evening or night, it disrupts the sleep, making us feel like shit in the morning. So never think about cortisol as a bad guy. You're the bad guy if you created a situation of chronic stress, making that essential hormone your enemy. And a quick look at cortisol's pathway. Hypothalamus releases corticotropin-releasing hormone, CRH. CRH stimulates the pituitary gland to release adrenocorticotropic hormone, ACTH. ACTH signals the adrenal glands to secrete cortisol. Then cortisol can be further converted to inactive form, cortisone, to regulate cortisol's effect in tissues. Let's have a look at my numbers. Cortisol AM, 201.6 nanomole per liter, which is good. Cortisol PM, 280.1 nanomole per liter. It's not good at all. That's why I decided to check AM and PM. Remember, it should be higher AM and lower PM. And the reason of elevated PM can be broken circadian cycle, chronic stress and acute stress. And all three are there. I did slightly break my circadian cycle, and although my stress management is way better than half a year ago, it's still there. And during the day I got a mild heat stroke, which is an acute stress and also could contribute to the elevated level. When I did my research after the test, I figured out that cortisol, as many other hormones, is also bound in the blood, mostly by corticosteroid binding globulin and albumin. Only free cortisol can bind to the cortisol receptors and do its job. And to measure the amount of free cortisol, we need either a urine test or saliva test. Cortisol analysis appears way more complicated than I thought. Now I simply don't understand why people measure single blood cortisol at all. It shows nothing, absolutely nothing. So next time I will definitely measure cortisol saliva to measure my free cortisol 4 times, right after waking up, 1 hour after waking up, around noon and before bed. This is because the daily rhythm is more important than a single cortisol reading. The 4-point test will reveal that rhythm clearly. The lab can give you as many saliva containers as you want to take samples anytime, so it will be easy to organize. Second, a 24-hour cortisol urine test. It shows the total amount of free cortisol produced during 24 hours and will help me understand if my adrenals produce enough or too much cortisol. As I mentioned in part 2 earlier, I also needed to investigate my low DHEAS levels and evaluate overall adrenal gland activity, since both hormones are produced by the adrenal cortex. And adrenocorticotropic hormone, ACTH, to further evaluate hypothalamus-pituitary-adrenal axis. This test is also relevant to understanding my low DHEAS, as ACTH regulates adrenal hormone output. Intervention. I need to attune the cortisol rhythm. Let me pronounce it again. Attune, not reduce. Sun exposure after waking up to support circadian rhythm, reduce coffee to 1 cup a day, ashwagandha in the evening, magnesium before bed, meditations, and an addition of slow carbs in the second part of the day to support serotonin-melatonin pathway. Important disclaimer: never try to suppress your cortisol based on a single reading. If you have a broken cycle, but total output is normal, cortisol suppression will make you feel lethargy, groggy, and unmotivated to go out of bed. I personally know a lot of anecdotal examples of using the very potent drug phosphatidylserine that is proven to reduce cortisol. But 9 times out of 10, you don't need suppression, you need to tune the rhythm. To summarize part 2 and 3, what tests would I add to the hormone section? First, adrenocorticotropic hormone, ACTH, to clarify if low DHEAS is pituitary-driven or adrenal-driven. Second, cortisol 24-hour urine test to further evaluate hypothalamic-pituitary-adrenal axis. Cortisol saliva, 4 probes. Luteinizing hormone. Remember, it's one of the signal hormones to produce testosterone. In my case, mostly out of curiosity, because why not? Follicle-stimulating hormone, FSH, to further investigate hypothalamic-pituitary-gonadal axis, HPG, and testicular function. Again, out of curiosity. Moving on, drugs and poisoning. I decided to test mercury because I consumed a substantial amount of tuna and I heard that it can cause high level of mercury, which is a poison for our body. And yes, my mercury is elevated, luckily below the harmful threshold, but the lower the better. So my intervention will be cease tuna consumption. The next step is eating leafy greens, but I don't know how to eat more, I am already eating a lot. Mercury leaves our body with sweat, and I sweat a lot. Regularly in the gym and sauna, nothing to add here. Next time I will also measure lead, because I am aware of many cases of elevated lead in Bali. Parasites. In Bali, it's extremely widespread to do anti-parasite cleaning without proper diagnostics. And anti-parasite health coaches, without medical education, create a network of fear. Maybe 10 or more people recently mentioned to me that they underwent some secret, sacred, natural, ancient, plant-based procedure eating mud, clay, bitter plants, and now they are free from mind-control parasites. Well, when placebo meets nocebo, euphoria is a common side effect. But before eating unknown shaman substances and waiting a month in a queue of people who are willing to pay $500 for totally ruining their gut microbiome, I decided to check for all possible parasites and infections. 0. Finally, I can stop suspiciously looking at my poop. Actually, I regularly use 3 foods that are known for the anti-parasitic effect: papaya seeds, pumpkin seeds, and cloves. None of them are fully scientifically proven to work as effective as dedicated medication, and overconsumption of clove, for example, can cause non-fun side effects, including liver toxicity. Hello to Clove Oil Detox program. You can over-detox your body to the level of liver toxicity and damage. Please, please, be careful. Conclusion to all three parts. If you have money, you should do blood work at least once a year. It helps detect diseases or unhealthy trends in early stages. It gives you an unprecedented level of information to monitor your lifestyle and dietary approach and correct it if necessary. If you have drastically changed your diet, lifestyle, and you're testing new health approaches, I would advise to do it twice a year. It's important to know your baseline for every marker and monitor changes rather than absolute numbers. Each body is unique. The same level of testosterone, for example, can work greatly for one person due to high receptor sensitivity and be extremely low for another person. Lots of markers follow the body's circadian rhythm and significantly vary during the day. So please test them at the exact same time. If it's 8 a.m., it's not morning, it's 8 a.m. Keep results clean by following rules. Don't test while overtrained, stop alcohol and medication. In case of any diseases, fully recover first, wait for a week or two, and only after do your blood work. I hope you enjoyed my amateur analysis, and I hope you're also charmed by how cool and informative blood work can be. If you follow my steps, please leave a comment how it was, and don't hesitate to ask questions. I'll be happy to answer. And thanks for taking active steps to improve your health. My goal is to motivate and help you along that journey by my own example. Stay tuned, I'll share each part of my healthy biohacking routine soon. It's a wrap! Yeah. And there's 2 for urine, 1 for stools. Okay, but not the greatest. Slow thyroid hormones, excessive porn, and frequent masturbations in my case.
Fine.
The older we get, the slower we age.
It's like testosterone on steroids.